We could get into the whys and wherefores and the failure of executive leadership, but it's more important now to call on our guest with whom we've reestablished contact, Robert Mazur, the former federal undercover agent. And again, his new book is entitled The Infiltrator, My Secret Life Inside the Dirty Banks Behind Pablo Escobar's Medellin Cartel. So, Robert, you've lived the situation. Give me your take on what's going on the border right now. Do you believe we have a situation where there are drug cartels smuggling these kids in and the kids are made part of this commerce of drug smuggling?
Well, I consider what is south of us to be a border. It's a frontier. My information from a number of sources. One, that which I saw when I was a federal agent, continuing now, speaking with my former colleagues and talking with them about what's occurring along the border, speaking to sheriffs who are sheriffs of counties that are along the border, but probably another thing with them about what's occurring along the border, speaking to sheriffs who are sheriffs of counties, clients that we now represent. And I run a company that employs 10 former federal agents, and among the services we provide, I run a company that employs 10 former federal agents, and amongst is produced. So I get the opportunity to debrief mid-level Mexican cartel operatives who are incarcerated in the United States, and I can tell you the theme that I get from them is that getting across the border, getting drugs north, people north, money and guns south, is a walk in the park for them every single day. Getting false identification, whether it's getting drugs north, people north, money and guns south, is a walk in the park for them and to be obtained on either side of the border. So as far as border security is concerned, I really don't think we have any.
Well, Robert, one of the things we hear a lot from Democrats is if we push these unaccompanied minors back into their native countries, they're only going to be running back into the arms of gangs. And when they come to this country, of course, it's easy to believe, and it's most likely the scenario that some of these minors under the age of 18 have affiliations to gangs. But how can we tell for sure?
Well, it's the gangs have really gotten a lot smarter than they were in years past. So the visible tattoos and things of that nature are maybe not as obvious as they were once before, but that's a simple thing that enables one to be able to do that. But you're going to have to rely on doing some real investigative work to identify what the links and associations are of these individuals. Each one, is a separate story. But do we really have the resources to be able to look into each and every minor that might be coming across the border? I really think that the beginning of getting an intelligent immigration system in place is first establishing a secure border. We haven't done that. It really needs to be done. Then we can start talking about managing the migration of people legally into the United States and making sure that those individuals who come in are individuals who should be coming into this country.
Robert, you made mention of something else that's important in all of this, and that is to have investigations and investigators. And in your situation, when you went undercover, you've now written a book about what went on with the Medellin cartel. Before we get to the book, just one question. Are we still actively, especially now given the situation on our border, are we still active in terms of undercover agents trying to gain access to these cartels south of our border?
Well, no, the undercover resources have substantially changed since I left the government, and I know this for a fact because I train law enforcement officers. I'm in contact with them on a continuing basis, and I can tell you that the administrative hurdles that they are confronted with in being able to do long-term undercover in the manner in which I described in my book is virtually non-existent. So therefore, they've had to turn to, an army of informants. And really, what I used to do as a long-term undercover agent, oftentimes now is being done by paid informants for the agencies, basically because that's about the only way that the agents who want to be able to do that type of work can get around the obstacles that are otherwise confronted with.
Well, as you set up that scenario, Robert, my question to you is this. If you're having to pay for informants, isn't there a risk that they're just going to tell us what they think we want to hear?
Well, no doubt about it that informants are far less credible witnesses and methods to obtain information. Yes, the list is awfully long of informants who have not only told only a portion of the information, but who have used that relationship to further their own criminal enterprises. And we can look at cases like the Whitey Bulger case in Boston, where an FBI agent now sits in prison basically for the rest of his life for turning a blind eye to the many murders that Whitey Bulger committed in the Boston area, and for compromising cases that were otherwise targeting Whitey Bulger. You see that in another case called Gregory Scarpa in New York, where the same kind of thing happened. It happens left and right, unfortunately.
And
agents should be doing the long-term undercover work.
And you are one who did that undercover work. Robert Mazur, we thank you for your time. We look forward to hearing more about your book, The Infiltrator, in the days ahead. Thank you so much for your time, sir, and we appreciate you being with us on America's Forum. Still to come, a news update as we try to get a handle on what is transpiring worldwide, and we will be back with that. Also, more of your comments straight ahead on Newsmax TV's America's Forum.